All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the regular Galt City Council meeting for October the 4th, 2022. Can I have a report from closed session, Mr. City Attorney?
Yes, good evening, Mayor, Council. Council received information on labor negotiations for the designated representatives and bargaining units listed in the agenda and provided direction. There's no reportable action.
All right, thank you, sir. I'll now call the meeting to order. Can I have a roll call, please?
Vice Mayor Sandu.
Here.
Councilmember Papineau.
Here.
Councilmember Vandenberg. Councilmember Lozano.
Here.
Mayor Farmer.
Here. All right, if everyone would please join us in a silent prayer followed by the flag salute. Tina, can you please read our replay statement?
This meeting of the Galt City Council will be cablecast on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel, on the Comcast Consolidated Communications and AT&T Uverse cable systems. The meeting is closed captioned and webcast at metro14live.saccounty.gov. Today's meeting will air Friday, October 7th at 9 a.m. and Saturday, October 8th at 9 a.m. This meeting can also be viewed at youtube.com/Metro Cable 14.
All right, thank you. Do we have any agenda approval, additions, and/or deletions from council? No? All right. Moving on to presentations. Before we have the presentation this evening, I wanted to read something brief that was presented to us regarding a gentleman who we recently lost in the community who was had served in various roles. So Mr. Thomas Walters was born on May the 4th, 1943. He passed away this past September 21st. He was born in Oakland. He spent his early life in the Bay Area. Upon graduating high school, he enlisted in the Marine Corps. After being discharged, he joined the Richmond Police Department. During his spare time, he worked for his dad's business. Upon his dad's passing, he continued that construction business. He had a deep commitment for Galt's community, serving on various city commissions, boards, and clubs. He was the chairman of the Planning Commission, involved in the Quail Hollow subdivision approval. He served 2 terms on the Galt City Council as both mayor and vice mayor. He was involved in the Northeast area annexation, was on the GPA to get the Save Mart Shopping Center and the Greer Middle School built. He also saved the Ray House from demolition when Victorian Park was developed. He served as the president of the Galt Historical Society and was the general contractor for the Ray House restoration from 1988 to 1991. He served as president and vice president of the Boys and Girls Club of Galt and was instrumental for the construction of the Boys and Girls Club. He was the founding charter member of the Galt Rotary, served as its president from 2009 to 2010. He worked with fellow Rotarians on community and international projects, reconstructing fire engines, ambulances, ambulatory equipment, and restoring McDonald's play equipment to ship or deliver to Mexico and other countries. There wasn't anything that he couldn't fix. His construction company was responsible for installing many of the ATM machines in our immediate area. His spare time, he enjoyed hunting, fishing, riding his motorcycle, helping with young Marines, and flying. And helping others was his passion. So just want to remember Mr. Walters, city's condolences to his family for his service. And so moving on to presentations. This evening we have 2. The first one's going to be the 2024 Blueprint Metropolitan Transportation Plan Sustainability Community Strategy from SACOG.
Good evening, Mayor Farmer and members of the council. Good evening to everyone who's here tonight. My name is Casey Lazan, and I'm the Deputy Executive Director for Planning and Programs at the Sacramento Area Council of Governments. Thank you so much for the time this evening for me to talk with you about a big effort that is going to be underway at SACOG and the rest of the region, and that we are really hoping for Galt's engagement in. First, just to let us all know, the Sacramento Area Council of Governments, we are a member organization of the 22 cities and 6 counties in the Sacramento region. We're one of the few governmental agencies where every city and county in the region gets around a table at least once a month, twice, if you count the committees of the SACOG board, to discuss regional issues, to plan and invest in the future. And Rich Lozano is your representative for Galt, serving you very well on that board. Among the things that we do is the development of a long-range plan. That was the mouthful, that was the presentation, Metropolitan Transportation Plan and Sustainable Community Strategy. Because it's so hard to say, we are rebranding it the Blueprint. I think that's a much easier thing to say. That is in homage to an effort that SACOG and the region undertook about 20 years ago to look into the future and figure out if we are going to continue to grow and thrive as a region, what is the way for us to do that in a way that maintains our quality of life. And so as we develop our plan, that is the name and the spirit we want to try to bring forth. And the plan that I'm here to talk to you about is it's a long-range transportation and land use plan. We do it every 4 years because, one, we're required to under state and federal law. Any transportation project that may be pursuing funding, grant funding from the state or federal governments needs to be included in that plan. We do that in part too, though, because it's also just the right thing to do. We have 22 cities and 6 counties in this region. You all have your general plans. Those are the visions of how you want to grow and be in the future. And then everyone, though, in your community and all communities, we live, work, and play across city boundaries, across jurisdictional boundaries. And so this plan is an opportunity for cities and counties to come together to figure out how do we implement all of our individual visions in a way that is cost-effective, that really can have a minimum impact on our environment, that can support our economy, that can support the daily needs and things that people need to do in their lives. So we see it as a great opportunity there. So we are here, I am here, going to all of the cities and counties in the region to talk about this plan and that we're about to kick off. The first thing that the SACOG board decided to do as we were embarking on the plan update is to adopt a policy statement that this plan was going to be grounded in what is called the triple bottom line. So how can this plan for transportation and land use and housing be grounded in and try to achieve the goals of equity and economy and environment? So really thinking about people, about their prosperity, and about the environment in which they exist, so that we can have people here thriving for generations to come. It's bold. It's a very visionary thing to try to do. And so when we think about what might transportation look like that tries to really achieve goals of equity, economy, and environment, that might look like really looking at existing roadway and transportation infrastructure that's been under-maintained or in disrepair and improving that. It might mean identifying areas in our communities that have unsafe designs on roadways and trying to fix that. It may mean thinking of different ways to help people to get from point A to point B. It could be a number of things. What we really want to do with this plan, though, to identify that, is to have a conversation with communities to try to define that, what that looks like. And so one of the first ways we'll do that is we will, working with all of your local staffs, we like to think that we are an extension and try to work closely with your staffs to develop some, what we are calling future pathways. So we're looking at all of the growth that is expected to come into this region over the next 30 years and say, okay, let's look at 3 different futures. if that growth, so the people in their homes and in all of the different jobs that people have, if that develops out across the region in different ways, what are the implications for people's mobility, for air quality, for our natural resources, for public health, for so many different things? We're going to try to measure that and then translate that into some conversations about values. Again, an ambitious goal that we have, but we feel like that's the right thing to do. And so to give you a bit of an understanding of what these pathways are, this is a map that shows today, in dark blue, all of the existing urban areas in cities and counties in the region today. And then the light blue area shows all of the potential future growth areas, so outside of where you have existing development and existing neighborhoods. In the first pathway, we're saying, okay, what if 40% of all of our growth happens within those existing communities, and then the 60% happens through expansion? Under the second pathway, what if 2/3 or 67% of that growth happens within existing communities and the balance of it happens through expansion? And then in the third pathway, what if 90% of it happens in existing communities and the balance through expansion? Now that's an aggregate number. In any individual community, it really is going to depend on what are your existing policies for growth. So, what Galt might look like in that pathway is not going to be the same thing as like the city of Sacramento or Elk Grove or the county. But when we create those pathways, we can then measure, like I said, what are the implications for people's lives. And then we want to take that information out into communities and have, as I said, an engagement with them. We have a number of tactics that we are hoping to use. We want to go to where people are at. So if there are festivals, community events, any type of gathering in your community, we would love to know about those when they're happening next year, because we'd like to go to those and, as I said, talk with people about these what they value. We would also like to know from you community organizations that work with different constituencies in your community, any community leaders in addition to yourself who we might talk to try to get the word out and allow them to be having conversations with whoever they serve so that we can really, as I said, get some robust input into this plan and this process. The timing of all of this, it will be kicking off in earnest next year, so that's when we want to do our outreach, when we want to do lots of different engagement, as I said. We want to be coming back to all of you as elected officials to have a conversation about what we've heard and what that might turn into, to ultimately develop a preferred pathway, which won't be one of the 3 pathways I described, but rather it will be formed from the input and all of the research that we do, and ultimately to adopt this plan in 2024. Now, what happens when the plan gets adopted? There's 2 things. We implement it. Galt and all cities and counties, you implement this on a daily basis by implementing your general plan through all of your policies and programs. And then you also implement it through SACOG, through all of the different programs, funding programs, technical assistance programs, planning efforts that we have underway. And I want to describe a few of those just so that we have an idea of what implementation looks like. So one of the newer things that we have going, our board is developing a racial equity action plan, and one of the first things that they came out of this process was a new planning grant program that's called Engage, Empower, Implement. This funding program, we are designing it now, and the whole purpose of it is for cities and counties to work really in partnership with communities to co-create solutions to any identified problems, transportation problems or other in their community. Another program this one came out of our last long-range plan. It's Green Means Go. I'm very excited about this because Every city and county in the region worked together, including with our state delegation, to try to get funding for this from the state of California. And after 3 years, we were able to get that. And so we have a funding program now that pays for the infrastructure for infill housing development, so water, sewer, drainage, the things that go in the ground that aren't, exciting, but really essential if we're trying to build housing for our neighbors. Another effort we have that again came out of our last plan is a mega region working group. This is a partnership between the 3 regions in Northern California, what we call the mega region. So board members from SACOG, board members from the Bay Area counterpart, which is called the Metropolitan Transportation Commission, and then board members from the San Joaquin Council of Government, meeting, and they've been doing this for the past couple years now, to try to coordinate on what our priorities are to really support and sustain the economy of Northern California. Our economies are growing increasingly linked to each other. And so one of the major things we did was identified what we call the Mega Region 12, or 12 projects that really come from each of the regions that are important to supporting the daily economy of all of our regions. So on the screen, what you see there, in the Sacramento region, the blue line shows you the YOLO I-80 Managed Lanes project. There's also the green line there that shows the 3rd track of Capitol Corridor that's being built, extended to Roseville. The pink line that I skipped over is an I-5 Managed Lanes project. And then the orange line that comes down into the valley is an ACE San Joaquin rail extension. Another implementation project is the Ready Set Trails, or it's a regional trails network that we have identified in collaboration with all of your staffs, with a lot of community engagement. Just finished this network, and we are excited to work with all of you on implementing it so that we can realize the vision of a connected region where people can, everyone, anywhere, can travel via trail system across the region. On the economy side, SACOG worked in collaboration with the Greater Sacramento Economic Council, with Metro Chamber of Commerce, Valley Vision, and the Sacramento Asian Pacific Chamber of Commerce to develop a prosperity strategy that really finished in 2020, was identified as really a way to recover from the economic effects of the pandemic in a way that is inclusive. And so what SACOG's role in that is on the transportation infrastructure side, to really try to make investments that support the major parts of our economy, food and ag, health and life sciences, and then mobility. And then lastly, we can't talk about the future without talking about who the future is for. Maybe I'll be there, maybe some of us will be there, but really the future is for our children, grandchildren, and so one of the programs that SACOG has been doing for the last couple years is our Youth Leadership Academy. These are high school students who apply from high schools all over the region, and we bring them together to learn about planning, to learn about local government, regional government, in the hopes that we're planting the seeds that someday they may sit in your seats, they may sit at the SACOG board table, and ultimately that they play a role and have a voice in their communities. So with that, I thank you for your time, and I'm very happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for the presentation. I just had one question. What specifically, I was looking at when I was reading through this report prior to today, and seeing, though, it was the one graph with the colored lines with the different transit, like the rail. Maybe you can bring that back up.
This one?
Yeah.
Yes.
So could you just briefly touch, just for us and audience members that are here, what would be some specific projects, large projects that would be directly impacting Galt?
I think that orange line right there that you see, the Valley Rail project, that would be extending both the San Joaquin train service that currently exists, as well as ACE is called the Altamont Corridor Express that kind of comes out of the South Bay. It's going to extend that up through the valley all the way to, right now it's showing Natomas, and then it's supposed to eventually go all to Chico. That line is just, it brings another regional rail opportunity that wasn't available before.
Does that use, and that uses existing rails that we have now, or is this a new?
This one, it should be using existing rail. I can get you the specifics on that.
And
follow
so,
up.
but there's nothing in the works, obviously we would know about it, but for any kind of stop in our community at this point?
No, not at this point.
Okay.
Now, that's not to say that these are the only projects in our transportation plan. What this is identifying is projects that have mega regional significance, meaning that they're tying across all three regions. But there are many plans within the regional transportation plan that are significant to the region. And I don't have the Galt ones off the top of my head, but you have got projects in them. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure that Councilman Lozano, our liaison with you, so he could update us on those, but I just, as a general question, does any of the council have any comment for her?
Just
Go ahead.
Yeah, go. Just the Coburn, thank you for giving us a detailed presentation. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Casey. Appreciate your overview of what SACOG's doing and in your, the SACOG staff working with our staff so well. Really look forward to the community input, specifically down in our community here, so that we get a significant amount of representation from our citizens on what the region's going to look like, and matching that up with what our general plan looks like, as well as the other pieces that will go with it. I know Walnut Interchange is one of the big projects that is in the hopper, getting that at least going down the road. So, but thank you again for coming, and nice to see you again today. I want everybody to know Casey did a great job at a conference facilitating a discussion on housing and transportation. So thanks for doing that today and then coming back out tonight.
Pleasure, thank you.
All right, thank you, Casey.
Thank you so much.
All right, moving on to item number 2 for presentations. Our second is going to be the Planning Commission Annual Report to City Council.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Keith Jones, and I was the chair of the Planning Commission for the reporting period. It is my pleasure to present to the council the Planning Commission Annual Report for 21-22. This report outlines the commission's responsibilities and activities. The Planning Commission plays a vital role in ensuring the continued growth and success of the city of Galt by taking action on a variety of development applications and guaranteeing that the integrity of the city's general plan is maintained and the city ordinances are complied with. The Planning Commission makes decisions on entitlements such as subdivision maps, design review, and use permits and variances. The Commission will also make recommendations to the City Council on amendments to the General Plan and Development Code. The Planning Commissioners worked on a number of high-profile projects this year, including the architectural plans for Cardoza 2 and Catatrina Estates, and the conditional use permit for TC Auto Care and Cal Waste, and recommended residential design standards for the city. We also approved a CUP and design review for Popeye's Chicken. In addition, the Planning Commission made recommendations to the City Council to approve ADUs and junior ADUs ordinance update. and to approve the resolution for the 2021 through 29 housing element. The Planning Commission also approved the annual CIP general planning conformance check and recommended the approval for the annual growth plan. This past year, we have also tried to follow for greater public comment in the input, including more public workshops and study sessions. We at the Planning Commission appreciate the opportunity to work with staff and dive into the development projects as well as the general plan and ordinance amendments. The Planning Commission does not hesitate to roll up our sleeves and get to work in order to help make projects work for Galt. I'd like to thank my fellow current commissioners for their efforts, Dan Denier, Vice Chair Jeff Hood, Dan Garling, and Matthew Pratton. That concludes my report to council for our Planning Commission from last year. If you have any questions, I'll take them now, but I would like you guys to know that I do appreciate what Craig has done with bringing in the development early and giving a chance to talk about it so we don't have to make a decision right away. And as well, you guys all know that I live in that world every day. I find that very helpful, and I think the people also find it helpful to be able to have that decision. That was a very good thing by Craig, and I think it's working well.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. And I think all of us, we echo that sentiment too. We don't like things being kind of shoved down our throats, for lack of a better term. And so it's nice to have things presented in a way that we can kind of take all the information in and then have a chance to absorb it. And I just had a couple comments. One, I just want to commend you guys on your attendance record. I know lately there's been a lot of discussion with some of our commissions and committees with lack of quorums, people not being able to make it. And I noticed that you guys have a stellar attendance record at all your meetings. So, and that's the way it should be for all the meetings. So you guys are setting a great example. But of course, the Planning Commission is such a huge, important, probably the most important. So I do appreciate you guys taking these roles very seriously and taking those appointments very seriously. So thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Does anybody have any comments for Mr. Jones?
Yeah, likewise, I appreciate it. Of course, I was there with you when Director Hoffman took over and started that direction of slowing down a little bit, having some discussions and getting some input. And I appreciated it when I was there, and I certainly appreciate the product that you guys consistently send to us. Any recommendations and stuff are certainly well thought out and frankly require, little consideration because you guys do very thorough work. So.
Oh, we appreciate that. I think we have a very good staff on the Planning Commission, and we represent the city well. So, thank you.
Mr. Jones, thank you for giving us all the detail on the Planning Commission. I know we work a couple years together. One thing, but just I'm asking your opinion on the study session. When I was in the Planning Commission, there was no study session. But I believe as a council, we like it. I think on the Planning Commission, this is study session sometimes is help to make a decision, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's I
No,
just wanted.
I think that was a good call, and it gives people a chance to digest it and not have to make any rash decisions. And so it's working well. So
Thank you.
you're welcome. Anyway.
Just thank you for your service, and I was going to comment on the dedication of the entire commission on not only attendance, but, when things come to us, they are very well thought out and very well deliberated, so I appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome. So thank you.
Thank you. Just following up with that report, I think it would be a good opportunity just to kind of briefly remind the citizens, for those of you who don't know, there seems to be a lot of misconception in the community about what the city council does when it comes to planning versus the planning commission. And unless particular projects require rezoning or annexations or significant things like that, most of those things only go through the planning commission. It is a very important commission. So I know growth is important to the people of Galt, always has been. And it shows the importance of that commission and the work that they do. And I know there's our previous planning commissioners sitting in the audience, I see. So, but again, city council doesn't always have the authority, the final say in these projects. That's why the planning commission is such a vital importance to us. So just want to let you guys all remind you of that. So moving on to public comment. Tina?
Under Government Code Section 54954.3, members of the public may address the city council on non-agenda items. The public comment section is for the city council to receive comments Except for brief responses to questions, no discussion or action may be taken on any item that is not listed on the agenda. Please limit comments to a maximum of 5 minutes. Due to the statewide emergency, public comments may also be submitted as noted above via the options listed on the first page of the agenda for providing live public comment or prior to the meeting via email to pubcom@cityofgalt.org by 4 p.m. on the day of the meeting, which will be distributed to City Council, made part of the official minutes, and posted on the city's website prior to the meeting, but will not be read out loud. And
We have-
just so you know, this one is broken, so the timer's over here.
Okay, thank you. I know we received some letters, but do we have any public comment in the room
The
tonight?
first one is Phyllis Johnson.
Good evening, Ms. Johnson.
Good evening. Good evening, all council. Good evening, Tina, and the very, very needed audience. I personally ran into a senior problem. As you can see, I'm on a walker. Obviously, I can't do my own yard work. There's no way I can walk it. Also, having problems with arthritis in the knee and the back of the calf on the left leg, I cannot even sit on my mower to do anything. Well, for months I tried to get help because I knew that code enforcement does their job. The weeds were getting higher and higher and higher. Well, what I feared happened, and they were correct. The weeds were so high that you couldn't hardly see over them. I asked people for help. Oh yeah, we'll help, we'll help. I understand people have other lives. Nobody came around. When I got the code enforcement, I wrote to the person who presented the code enforcement, and I wrote to 2 others, and I got nowhere. But Councilman Lozano, who's hiding behind there, he and Mark from Rotary on a Saturday morning took their time to help me and get those weeds down. And I want to publicly thank you. And audience, I'm going to give you a little hint. This is the best council we've had since I moved here in the 80s. Vote them all in again, and you'll have good service. And seniors like me and other ages will be taken care of. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson, and thank you, Rich, for that. All right, additional comments?
Craig Morris.
Mr. Morris, good evening.
Good evening, council. Speaking of seniors, that's the reason why I'm here. I'm the board chair for South County Services, and we're going to have a live walk-in senior luncheon this year. The last one we had was in 2019. I think all of you have been to our functions except for maybe, I'm not going to try that, Councilman Kevin. So, and the city attorney, Tina never is there because she has other things, but Lorenzo's been there for all of them, so I do appreciate that. This year, it's going to be on Friday, December 9th. And the reason for that was there was a function going on Thursday morning, December 8th. Well, that got canceled, which is fine, but the tickets were already made up. Terry Parker made up, she paid for them, 225 tickets. So there is for December 9th. So is there any way that we can look at the calendar now and find out if, because I know the city works sometimes on Fridays, sometimes not. Is there any way that we can check that, Lorenzo, now and see?
What are we checking?
Well, the date is Friday the 9th instead of Thursday the 8th for the senior luncheon. So
I'll have Armando Solis, our Parks Director,
Okay.
contact you. Do you have his contact information?
Armando's on our board, so yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you can circle around with him and he'll give you that
Okay.
information.
But if it's the case where no one's going to be here, is there any way that you could manipulate, like having 2 Fridays not being there, then having that Friday to be here in town?
Are you concerned with people being here because you want the staff to participate?
Correct, yeah, it's
Well,
staff.
I think that we can get staff to participate even if we're not
Yeah, but,
not working that day.
yeah, but I just didn't want to bother, have you folks come in.
Well, let's figure out the date with Armando, and then we'll see if
Okay,
that's
well,
if
I'll
that's
check,
a working
yeah.
Friday or not.
Yeah, well, okay. So, so with that said, we're still going to have James and Curtis Guthmiller doing barrel cooked chicken for us. Yeah, you like that. Okay, I did too. Scalloped potatoes, corn, coleslaw, and Spawn's Parker House rolls. So James and Curtis will be doing the cooking along with, I think, 3 or 4 other former Real Men's Club individuals. So if you all can make it, I think it would be fun. I think you would really enjoy it, Kevin. It's a great time. I mean, Chabot, the girls just do a great job, and it's fun. I'm sure that Sean and Paul and Rich will back that up. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Look forward to it. All right.
Galen Gomez.
Good evening, Ms. Gomez.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. My name is Galen Gomez. I am a Galt resident. We've lived here since 1996. Our children have gone through Galt schools. I teach at a local elementary school. I also manage a local animal rescue. I'm standing before you again this evening to ask for attention to be given to providing adequate animal services to Galt residents. I've told you before that people care about this topic, and I've encouraged those people to speak out, as no updates have been made available since July. Hopefully you've received some emails. Also, if you're here in the audience and you are here because this topic is important to you, will you please raise your hand? I don't want to waste my 5 minutes talking to you about things I've already addressed with this council and city leadership, so I will attempt to provide a quick rebuttal to an officer's comments in an article that was posted in the Galt Herald on July 27th related to this topic. The officer in that article indicated that Galt PD does not prefer to house sick animals in its kennels because of the risk that it poses in infecting other animals that the agency may be holding. I would like to know the actual average number of animals Galt PD is truly holding on a daily basis. My feeling is this is really a non-issue. Also, basic sanitizing protocols should take care of any concern related to this. The officer also indicated that the department prefers that people not move sick or injured animals, but rather call the non-emergency number so that an officer can come out and confirm the situation and call animal control. I'd like to read a post to you that was on Nextdoor that I was tagged in 2 weeks ago. Happens pretty regularly. There is an injured cat in front of Valley Oaks Elementary School. I think its back legs are broken. He looks sick too. We tried feeding it some food. Would someone be able to come pick it up? If you scroll further on, after recommending contact Galt PD, here's the reply from the reporter. I called Galt PD this morning, and she told me just Google an animal shelter. They can't tell me which one to call, and they can't help. So it seems like calling the non-emergency number doesn't really seem to be a true and consistent option for Galt residents. The officer also indicated in that article that he was unaware of any animals having escaped the department's property, and that incidents of such things occurring are not tracked. He acknowledged that while sometimes a dog may have gotten out, the staff has been able to get it under control. I'd like you to be aware of 2 animals in particular that I have firsthand knowledge of. The first is a dog that I actually trapped in my neighborhood with the assistance of my neighbor. We trapped the dog. We had the dog transported to Galt PD. Our rescue watched on the Sacramento Animal Shelter website for that animal to be posted on there with the intention to do a rescue pull after the 72-hour stray hold. That dog never showed up. I went to the Galt Police Department inquiring where the dog was. I spoke to a very, very senior official who is still with the department who indicated, oh yeah, that dog got away. So I asked him if I could please go in the back lot and look for the dog. His comment to me was that the dog's no longer here. When this happens, the dogs go straight out that gate right there. That says to me this was not the first time. After I spoke to you in July at the city council meeting, I also had a resident contact me who thanked me for contacting or speaking out. She had brought an injured cat there. The police had asked her to take it back to the holding area with their guidance. They went back there. They asked her to take it out of the carrier and put it up into a higher holding cage. The cat escaped. She and 3 officers chased that cat around for 15 minutes until they said, you know what, it's fine, we've got this, you just go ahead, we'll put a can of cat food out. I'm not really so certain that cat was ever caught. Again, this brings up the issue of secure holding space at the Galt PD. I cannot explain, as I bring these points up, I can't explain the lack of communication within our police department and why having an officer speak with the Galt Herald prior to actually briefing him on the facts, I can't address that. I don't know why that's happening. Moving on, I am aware of a sales tax proposal on the ballot, which could generate up to $3.6 million for your general fund. The only thing I've seen a price tag on is additional services being provided to service our parks, and my understanding is option 1 seems to be the consensus amongst this board or this council, and that amounts to about $1 million, 28% of what it is you're requesting from Galt residents. I'd like to know what you're doing with the other 72%.
Ms. Gomez, go ahead. I'm going to give you about 20 seconds to wrap
Okay,
up.
thank
Your
you.
time is allotted. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. This proposal also includes a management position, and I want to let you know that I am opposed to any additional management positions. We already have a director of Parks and Rec. We do not need another management position. What we need some hands on the ground doing the work. Anyhow, thank you for your time. I really do hope that you will take the time to figure out how you're going to provide decent full animal services and a contract to the citizens of Galt that they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gomez. In regard to Ms. Gomez's comments, I want to share an email that we got from City Manager Hines actually this morning in regards to this topic. It says, I met with Ms. Gomez on July 27th and learned a great deal about Perfectly Plausible and her concerns about the city's animal control services. I have since started a dialogue with the city of Elk Grove regarding their ability to provide animal control services to Galt. Those talks are ongoing. Simultaneously, we are also working with Sacramento County regarding the renewal of our contract regarding animal control. Those talks are also ongoing. I wanted to know this information in case you were approached by citizens and to give you an update. So I know we did receive letters. I don't know if the letters were to the entire council or just to me, but Mrs. Guys, if I'm saying that correctly, Ms. Luna and Mrs. Davidson as well. Those were letters we received on this topic. And I know there's many of you in here that are here as you raise your hands on this topic. This is an important issue. I'm not going to sit here and say that our PD is handling this the best they can. I think that in the greater picture that professional services, people that are trained specifically to do this would be the ideal outcome, which is what Mr. Hines spoke of in the email. We're trying to see if we can facilitate something in conjunction with Elk Grove. This topic is very dear to me as well. My wife actually works with Ms. Gomez and helps rescue animals, and we're big on that in our family, so I understand it's very important and the importance of people's pets and the care that they should receive in our community. It is terrible that we don't have better answers for you this evening, but I can tell you that we take this seriously. I think on behalf of the entire council we do, and that we will continue to work with Mr. Hines, and hopefully we'll get an update real soon on where we're at with those talks and see if we can get something, some updated news on that. So, Mr. Hines, is there anything you would like to add in addition to that?
Nothing further.
Okay, so go ahead, Mr. Pebnell.
I would add that in regard to the allocations of should this tax measure pass, what it can be used for, I would refer you back to the minutes, and I don't think it was recorded, of our discussion on the resolution directing where this money can go. That was discussed at length.
Mr. Mayor, may I have a quick comment on this? I also received many emails and animal service issue on the email and also with the calls. There is also a Facebook group and their local residents, and we need to take this very prioritized. So I will ask the council and staff if we can do this priority, what the best we can do. Thank you.
Yeah, and echo what Mr. Papanow said, the tax measure, I'm not sure what the data that you showed, Ms. Gomez, but the resolution we passed was to commit the 100% of the money to Parks and Rec. There wasn't any specifics about management positions or anything like that. And I know that there's probably lots of needs for different money, but that that tax measure was born out of the need for Parks and Recreation, specifically to fix ongoing long-term. So, but that's not to say that we can't find solutions for this, like I said. So I will look to hear updates from Mr. Hines as he continues his dialogue with Elk Grove, and hopefully we can get some answers for y'all soon. And if we should have any updates, I'll share them with you, those of you that I have contact with, and keep you in the loop. Okay, so thank you for all of you being here and representing this subject. Any additional comment?
Greg Davidson?
Mr. Davidson? You can just, I don't know, Frank, if you can help him pull the mic down if that's possible.
Speak rather loudly.
Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Reds Council, the citizens that have turned out. Ms. Gomez and I are friends, and I'm here to echo the sentiments that she's passed on and touch on a couple of things that she did not mention. One of those is she has reached out to people like my wife and I and others in the community who are amenable to do our own trap, neuter, and release programs. We've done those happily with animals that have been dumped here in the community, taken them in. The county is nice enough to provide vouchers, which we have used, and that will cover some of the costs. But a great deal of it comes out of the citizens' pockets that do this. I think without those small little clusters of people doing that, the problem would be much worse. Another thing that Ms. Gomez did not touch on is people like my wife, our neighbor down the street, another neighbor one street over and farther down. I'm sure that there's dozens, if not hundreds, of people like us around the community that are taking care of these animals once they do get dumped. We provide food, we provide water, we provide shelter. When it's necessary, we provide veterinary care. I know that you got a message from my wife that explained to you an unfortunate incident in our neighborhood where an animal was struck, and unfortunately the woman had no other resources, but she had to take it up to the veterinary hospital, and at great expense to herself, a senior citizen on a fixed budget, she had to have the animal euthanized. And it was rather traumatic for her. Another thing that has impacted me personally, and I have not had a chance to talk to Ms. Gomez about this, or to really any of you that I know on a personal basis. Several times over the course of my lifetime here in Galt, I've come across a dead animal in the road. Unfortunately, one time was right in front of Valley Oak School, not Gold Oak, where I went to school, Valley Oak School, and it worried me that the children coming to school would have to walk by that dead animal. It was right in the green zone that we had put out for them. I called everyone in the city that I could think of to have somebody come and help clean that up. And there was no one. There was not a police officer, there was not a fireman, there was not a city worker, there was no one that could come. I ended up having to go back to my house and get materials by myself and from a wheelchair, pick up that dead animal. It's happened twice now, and the other time was on a Saturday, so I understand the case on Saturday being a little different. But I think that that's something that that needs to be addressed. If it was raw sewage, or if it was a natural gas leak, or if it was something that rose to a greater level of an emergency, the city would have been able to have somebody there, excuse me, to help me. So I felt rather bad that didn't happen. And now if I could pivot, as I did in my comments, once again, Mayor Farmer, Councilman Sandu, we've talked about this before. Valley Oak School, every day at 2:30 is a liability just waiting to happen. Every day. There's illegal U-turns. I watched somebody the other day make an illegal U-turn through the crosswalk. They made an illegal U-turn through the crosswalk while children were waiting to cross. And the crossing guard was so taken aback that she jumped back. Something bad is going to happen there. The double parking with the kids running in between the cars, it's just a recipe for disaster. Something needs to be done. I know tragically we're down to one traffic officer, and the excuse that's always given is he can only be in one place at one time. Well, he needs to be at Valley Oak School 3 days a week, every week, until that behavior stops, and stops cold. Because what's going to stop cold next is going to be some child's heart when they're hit by a car. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, sir. I did want to mention we're on this subject that I actually did have a conversation with the Valley Oaks crossing guards just yesterday in my place of business, and some of the stories they shared are really frustrating, to be honest. But we did have a conversation with the council. Some of us council members have met with Mr. Hines recently, and these concerns were brought forward, and Mr. Hines has met with PD, and we are, for those of you who may not have seen it posted on the city's social media, but we are doing a traffic awareness month for the October. This is going to consist of various efforts to kind of ramp up not only awareness but enforcement as much as we can. We had deployment of radar trailers, various things. I would like to, I don't have the post in front of me, but maybe Mr. Hines could elaborate. But the point I make is that this topic is something that all of us hear about a lot. And this is a response from PD to try to do what we can in the moment. Hopefully there's larger answers with our second motor officer coming on board first of the year, and we can start seeing that start to make a difference. But we hear you. I talk to people daily about traffic issues, and it's a concern, and we're doing what we can. And I hope you're right, Mr. Davison, that we can be more proactive instead of reactive in the future on this. So, Mr. Hines, do you have anything on that traffic that you'd like to add?
I'll cover the particulars of Traffic Awareness Month during staff comment. That's where I had that's where I was going to discuss it with the chief.
Great.
Okay.
All right, thank you. So at the end of our meeting, we have staff comments, and we'll hear more about that then. So any additional comments?
Ken Lee.
Mr. Lee, good evening.
Good evening, council members and Mayor Farmer. I'd like to bring up the problem with the alleyways. The alleyways are getting more and more congested with people parking there. And the main problem is the no parking signs that say no parking anytime. They have them at half a block, and then the other half of the same side of the street doesn't have any signs. And so there's an unsafe condition on the northwest corner of East Street between 4th and 5th. where the Galt Senior Apartments are. Car parks there on the corner, and there's no lighting. It's a dark car, and there's no lighting within 100 feet. And so if you don't know the car is there, you could hit it. And basically with the seniors, it's harder for us to maneuver because we need more room when we drive down the street. And because it's the high traffic conditions to Galt Place coming in and out. And then I'd like to bring up bus rides. The Highway 99 Express, I take the buses once in a while, and the 99 Express to Lodi, it misses all the buses at the transfer station by 5 minutes, coming to and for. And so you have to wait an hour for the next bus all the time. And it misses it only by 5 minutes. And basically, a lot of the seniors at Galt Place don't drive, and they were looking for a senior pass between the dial ride and the Highway 99. The students have a discount pass, but the seniors don't. And that's about it. Thank you.
Are you referring to the Concilio dollar ride in Galt?
Yes.
Okay.
No, the Sacramento line dial ride.
Okay. I'll get with you after the meeting and get some more information on that so I can see if I can point you to somebody. We'll get together. I'll talk to you about it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lee.
Josh Kohlers.
Mr. Kohlers, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Farmer and distinguished council members. My name is Josh Kohlers. As it's been mentioned, I am the current City Council liaison from the Galt Youth Commission, and I just came to report to you what occurred at last night's meeting. It was a rather compact but very productive meeting. We voted on a total of 12 community service opportunities and events for the Youth Commission. We formed 3 subcommittees involving a subcommittee for planning the College and Career Fair, participation in the Halloween movie night, and the Extravaganza fundraiser event, which will be happening in April. We voted on those subcommittees, and we pushed the other 9 or so events back. We tasked a lot of commissioners with coming back with further information on those, so the next meeting we can decide on those. And so as far as last meeting went, that's about all I have to share, but I just wanted to thank you for your time. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for the update, Mr. Kohlers. Good job.
Could I interrupt his comment?
Yeah.
Take up some of his time. To remind everybody that there's a current vacancy for a mentor for the Youth Commission.
2.
2 vacancies. I'm only worried about mine. Okay? So pass the word, get out there. We'd like to see some good applications.
You can call the city clerk if you're interested, and she can direct you to the application process for that.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
if I may indulge, since we've got a gallery full of folks, I'm going to echo what Councilmember Papineau and the mayor and this young man from the Youth Commission has mentioned, and that we are looking for 2 mentors who can help guide that next generation of Galt leaders, because that's exactly who the Youth Commission is. And so we would appreciate at least 2 of you being willing to volunteer and help shape and guide these young folks into the future. I addressed the commission about 2 months ago, I think it was, or maybe a month ago. And the statement that I left them with was, this town will be yours in 10 years. And think about that and let that settle in. You're all teenagers now and you're not thinking about that, but in 10 years, this town will belong to you. So if you folks want to have a hand in shaping our future leaders, I would encourage you to contact Tina Hubert, our city clerk, and throw your hat in the ring. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Hines. I failed to ask you, just from our own knowledge in the community, who would be for an animal that's found in the road that's deceased, who would be the contact? Is that animal, who would we call for something like that? Do we know, Mr. Hines?
I'd have to check with my staff.
Okay.
and a key member of my staff is on the way in right
Okay,
now.
all right.
On what issue is this specifically? This kind of question?
There was a couple of public comment made earlier about who would be the point of contact if an animal was hit in the road and was
Okay.
deceased, that we could come pick up that animal.
Let's just keep in mind that it has been agendized, so just want to keep. You can get the point of contact, and then we probably got to limit it at that discussion just for purposes of.
Right, I'm just looking for, to who do we contact?
So Cal Waste ultimately does those removals on our behalf.
Al Waste?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Unless it's an extremely large animal, then we use sack rendering.
That's good to know. Thank you, sir. All right, any additional comments?
Katrina Watson?
Good evening, Mayor Farmer, council members. My name is Katrina Watson. I've been a Galt resident for almost 10 years, so I'm still a comparative newcomer, I guess. But during that time, I've been lucky enough to have the companionship of several pets. And I also right now help, I'm one of the people that helps with the feral colonies of cats by feeding them and helping to trap them and get them fixed, etc. Anyway, a few months ago, I was in July, I believe, I brought to your attention my experience with Sac County Animal Control and the Galt PD regarding a feral cat that was badly injured or sick, we don't know. And both organizations unfortunately fell way short of expectations at that time. Currently, it was resolved, but currently I only have one dog. At one time, we had a Chihuahua and as a companion, and like most Chihuahuas, he was a bit of an escape artist, and he would get out from time to time, run around the neighborhood. But he was chipped, and he had always had a caller ID, and he always came back. But one time, in January of 2019, he never came back. We never found him. We reported him to Animal Control, Paul Boost, all the usual outlets, and nothing was ever found. And I can't help thinking that if he had been found deceased, if the proper authorities had done their job, they would have scanned for a chip, and then we would have been informed and had closure. And I'm sure there's lots and lots of people that have been in the same situation as I have. And I think also one thing you really need to bear in mind from the future is the rapidly expanding population of Galt and by the possible need in the future to have your own animal control unit in the city. I'm happy to hear that you're in negotiations with Elk Grove. They're a wonderful and really efficient organization. So I hope something can be worked out there. Anyway, that's all I had to say. I just wanted to add to Ms. Gomez's talk too. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Watson. Any additional comments, Steve?
Scott Robinson?
Good evening, Mr. Robinson.
Good evening. Hi, Council. My name is Scott Robinson, and my public comment tonight is regarding changing the current cannabis ordinance here in Galt. I first approached the city of Galt about opening a retail cannabis store here in 2019. This year, at the May 3rd council meeting, the council agreed to hold a study session and bring back the topic in the fall. I am here to ask if there has been any progress made and if this will be a future agenda item, and if so, when that might be. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Just so you know, we also got an update on this morning, and it looks like that discussion will be coming to the council on December the 6th. So, any additional comment?
No public comment.
All right. Moving on to item I, reports by city council members on regional boards, commissions, and committees. We'll start with the vice mayor. Mr. Sandhu?
Mr. Mayor, nothing to report tonight.
All right. Mr. Papineau?
September 22nd, was at the Sacramento Metro Air District board meeting. The most notable part of that agenda was the presentation of the wildfire smoke emergency plan. And this was born out of AB 661 and the 2018 wildfires that kind of filled the valley with smoke and left businesses, public agencies, schools, and so forth a little bit at a loss as to best practices, what should we be doing as far as being closed, keeping kids inside, and so forth. And this was authored by Assembly Member Kevin McCarty. So he, along with County Health Officer Dr. Casserier, came to our meeting and presented this plan. And I like two things about it. It had a lot of public input put into it, a lot of research. It came out with very clear recommendations and things that businesses and agencies could include in their emergency plans so they know where to get the best information and make the best decisions. And the best part about this is it does not come with any mandates, and it doesn't come with any unfunded mandates. This is just put in place so that the public can have the best recommendations, but is not cumbersome on them. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you, sir. Councilman Lozano?
I have nothing.
All right, myself, I attended the Galt Youth Commission, as was mentioned by Mr. Cullors earlier, and it was a good meeting. We approved some events that the Youth Commission will be participating in, some fundraisers, and some other groups that we hope to partner up with. And so look forward to the next meeting when we can decide on the rest of those items. As mentioned, we are lacking in two. We only had 2 adult mentors at the meeting last night, so it's very important that we fill those positions. So hopefully we get that filled soon. Other than that, I think that was all I had. So moving on. All right, moving on to item J is our information consent calendar. It is recommended that items 1 through 8 be acted upon simultaneously unless a separate discussion and/or action is requested by a council member. Do I have anything from the consent from council? No? All right. I actually would like to pull items J, 6, 7, and 8 for some questions. So with that, I'd be looking for a motion to approve items 1 through 5. And those items are, number 1, the minutes of the regular meeting from September 20th of 2022. Item 2 is receive and file warrants for a period ending September 22nd of 2022. The treasurer's report for a period ending August 2022. The 2021 through 29 housing element implementation regarding the residential design standards and ordinance incorporating these design standards. And item 5 is the amendment to consultant agreement for the lift station upgrade design project CIP 58K. Do I have a motion to approve those 5 items?
Move.
Moved by Vice Mayor Sandhu. And I will.
Excuse me, we need to make sure we go to public comment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No
Thank
problem.
you. Yes. Do we have any public comment on the consent calendar?
No public comment.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Attorney. Seconded by Councilmember Papineau. Can I have a roll call, please?
Vice Mayor Sandhu?
Aye.
Councilmember Papineau? Aye. Councilmember Lozano?
Aye.
Mayor Farmer?
Aye. Items 1 through 5 approved 4-0. Item J6 is the contract amendments with TDI Signs and Aloha Electric Signs for respective fabrication. I was wondering if Mr. Selling, hopefully you can answer these. I just had a quick question. I just was wondering, so I know we came in under budget, so if I'm understanding this correctly, we're coming back and asking for some additional things that the council and the staff were wanting to do to supplement the wayfinding project or enhance it, I guess. And we have clearly the funds to do it under what was originally approved. My question is two questions. One is you guys have laid out, even though they're installing these, because it's mentioned in here that originally our staff was going to do the installation, but we decided because of staff shortage and stuff, we're going to have one company's doing the fabrication and the other's doing the installation. But we have a map laying out everything where they go and all that, so there's no, right?
Correct.
Okay. And then the second was, do we have any these new signs that we're asking for? I was curious if, and I could have emailed you this in advance, but I was working late on this today. But maybe if you could give us some renderings of what these new signs. One was like a welcome sign, and the other one was something for the market.
Yeah, Mayor Farmer, good evening, and council. So as far as the signs go, they're basically the same motif as the wayfinding signs, the same, color scheme and design, basically. It's just the text that's on them, and they're largely to be placed at the various city facilities, Littleton, the Municipal Services Center, City Hall, et cetera, Chabola, and the market, to basically let people know you've arrived at this destination, if you will. And then there's a couple of signs in there for the C Street project, like we talked about here, I don't know, some weeks ago at a prior council meeting. The Old Town Galt and the Welcome to Galt sign. There's an electronic sign or potentially an electronic sign or other, billboard type sign that'll be separate. But just those couple smaller signs that'll be in the median for the C Street Improvements Project. So there's a couple of those in here too.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So this amount being asked for, that doesn't include like the electronic.
No.
Right. As I was
No.
wondering, I was like, well, if it's been approved and bid, we have to know what it looks like clearly.
No.
But I haven't seen. Okay.
No. These are just the same scheme wayfinding signs, basically. Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
So those others are to come still.
Correct.
Design.
Yes. Yeah, that's kind of a work in progress, and we'll be back to the council to kind of give you some options there.
Okay. That's all I had. Does anybody have a question for Mr. Stelling while he's up here on this? Okay. Do we have any public comment on this item?
No public comment.
Okay. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that.
Welcome.
All right. Looking for a motion now to approve item J6, which is the contract amendments with TDI signs and Aloha Electric signs for respective fabrication and installation of the additional wayfinding signs. Do I have a motion to approve that item?
I'll move to approve it.
Moved by Councilman Papineau,
Second.
seconded by Vice Mayor Sandu. Can I have a roll call, please?
Vice Mayor Sandu.
Aye.
Councilmember Papineau.
Aye.
Councilmember Lozano.
Aye.
Mayor Farmer.
Aye. Item's approved 4-0. The next item that I had questions was item J7, which is the police canine purchase and the training cost appropriation. Thank you, Chief, for coming up here quickly.
Yeah, no problem.
So let me, so it's my understanding that, just to make sure I understand it correctly, so we had some internal promotions. One of those was our K-9 officer, I'm assuming it was probably Officer Slater, that one we're thinking about, but was promoted, and then that vacated that position. So although we have, that position is still obviously funded in the police budget for the K-9 officer, it's not appropriate for his dog, which was his dog. You can't just take that dog and then reassign it to new because there's a relationship there. I get that. And so you're looking to have funds to purchase a new dog and all the training that goes along with that. Am I understanding that clear so far?
Yes.
Okay. So my question was, and I'm only asking this just from a standpoint because, this money, and if correct me if I'm wrong, Lorenzo, but this is not, this money is being asked for out of general fund reserves. This is not an additional, this is not coming out of any police budgets. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So, and for that reason alone, I asked the questions just because it was mentioned that in the staff report that these promotions were unforeseen, or else we could have incorporated them in the budget process, which was back in March. And I know these promotions happen. I did some work back, and I know it was at the particular swearing in for this, which was in June. So the promotion happened in June. budget was done in March. I get that. But I think just, hopefully in the future, we could be mindful. I think if we knew, I think when we created the captain position in March, which was a budget item, that item was asked for. I think the creation of that captain position, we knew was going to, the whole intention of that was to create some movement within the department so we could, I know there were some retirements that showed, but the whole idea was to create some kind of movement, which we've never really had in the past, where officers could have room to promote and have that movement within the department. So I think with that knowledge back in March, I think we probably may have had some foresight that this would happen. Moving forward, I know that, the citizens are always watching our dollars, especially right now when we're going out for a tax measure and stuff. I just want to be very vigilant on making sure that we don't have a lot of spending that's not been budgeted and stuff. So I just only want to bring this up to you.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. We appreciate that. There's sometimes we need the flexibility to request appropriations. Sometimes when we are looking at expenditures that may occur in the budget year, we actually don't have the flexibility to actually publicize those things until we're sure about the process that we're going to go through. So that's what the appropriation process is for. Typically, you'll see us ask for a mid-year adjustment, which you'll see in February, which we will shore up all of the appropriations that we needed that we didn't anticipate when the budget passed. This particular appropriation is needed because of the the importance of the task, and that's purchasing a K-9 and getting the dog up and trained and ready to go, and to give Kane a little break every now and then.
So, yeah, and I get that, and I appreciate it. Was there a reason why this couldn't come out of Measure?
Measure R pays for one of the K-9 positions. So historically, there's always been one K-9 position out of the general fund, and one was created in Measure R. The second thing is I'm not going to ask for an appropriation when I don't know that I need to expend the funds. So I would just be shooting in the dark and over asking in a budget process. And the second thing is I don't know who's going to be successful in the sergeant's testing process. And so going ahead in advance of the testing process and asking for backfill for positions that may or may not come to fruition would be a morale buster in the department, because then people would think the fix was in and it was already planned for certain people being promoted. So we can defer and not do the K-9. I'm fine with that. It's whatever the council wants to do. It's $35,000, and there's more than $7 million in this general fund sitting there. So I think the expenditure can be afforded.
And so, Mayor, I just wanted to, sorry to interrupt, I just wanted to highlight that he just gave you an example of one of those instances where the budget is being passed, where we don't have the flexibility to build in the appropriation because of varying factors. And he just gave you a very good list of why.
Thank you. Point taken, sir. I'm only asking questions because that's my job to ask questions. So I do appreciate, and I have no problem with approving tonight the K-9. I know it's important, and we've always been supportive of the department, and we'll continue to do that. But I also want just to understand where the funding is coming from so that the public understands that. And that's why we're talking about it out loud right now. So does anybody else in the council have a question for Chief Kalinowski while I have him up here on this particular item? All right. Then what I'll do is, let me ask you some questions real quick on the other item and I'll just look to approve both. So on the other item was for the vehicles. I know we approved these. I just couldn't understand. So I understand that one of the vehicles, I think, is unmarked. There was getting ready to purchase those. It seems like it was maybe just an inflationary thing, like the vehicle is going to cost more than what we had originally earmarked for. And the motorcycles, I understand there was some difference needed, and so that was going to increase those costs. It wasn't hugely significant. I'm aware of the cost of those bikes. But my question was about the vehicle for the CSO. You have a bid in here for $50,000 for the vehicle, but you're asking for $74,000 for appropriation. Can you please clarify?
So in addition to purchasing that vehicle like we do the police vehicles, there's an upfitting cost. So that includes the installation of an in-car computer. There will be a Axon in-car camera, and the associated lights, the radio. The radio and the computer alone are $13,000. And painting or graphics on the vehicle, stickers and those kinds of things. And that truck is needed to support the CSO stuff and as indicated in the staff report.
Okay.
And that's a Fund 47, just to be clear.
Yeah, the measure, I saw that, yeah. And I thought that maybe that's what it was, but the staff report just didn't indicate, and it was just referring to 50, and then over here it talked about 74, and there was really no line item. And again, I want to remind that, sometimes the public reads these staff reports, so I had one person come to me and ask me this question through email, and so I said, well, it's probably the outfitting of the vehicle, but again, if our staff reports could specify that just for transparency in the future, that would be helpful. And that was for the Ram. There was several bids for vehicles, but it was the Ram 2500 pickup. That's the CSO vehicle. The others were the patrol.
Patrol, yeah, we can't get a Ford in the trucks. They were sold out until 2024, something like that. So that's why we have to go with a Dodge.
And some of this funds is coming from Fund 47, and the others are coming from the CFD Fund.
Correct.
38, right? Or that's the funds we collect on new developments for public safety.
For public safety specifically, yes.
Okay. All right, that's all. That's the only questions I had. I just wanted a clarification on that. Does anybody have any questions for the chief? Want to have the item up? Is there any public comment on either of these items?
No public comment.
Okay. All right, I'll be looking, thank you, chief, appreciate that. I'll be looking for approval of items J7 and J8.
Moved. Second.
I gotta read them real quick, hang on. J7 is the police canine purchase and training cost appropriation of $35,000. Item J8 is the police vehicle purchase and appropriation requests, which includes the 2 police motorcycles, the 2 marked police vehicles, 1 unmarked police vehicle, and a community service officer vehicle. Looking for a motion to approve those 2.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Lozano,
Second it.
seconded by Councilman Papineau. Can I have a roll call, please?
Vice Mayor Sandu.
Aye.
Councilmember Papineau.
Aye.
Councilmember Lozano.
Aye.
Mayor Farmer.
Yes. Items approved 4-0. All right. Moving on to item K, scheduled matters notice of public hearing. The item this evening is going to be to adopt an ordinance adding section 18.16.080, sections 15.32, 030, section 1808.030, 1816.040, 1816.050, and tables 1828 through 1848/2, and repealing section 1844.150 of the Galt Municipal Code regarding accessory dwelling units, otherwise known as ADUs, and junior accessory dwellings units, JADUs. Mr. Hoffman.
Mayor, members of the council, we tried to make that title as long as we possibly could.
Right. Thank you.
Tonight, we're working on our ADU ordinance and our junior ADU ordinance. With me is Kristen Bitts. Since I've been here for the last 2 years, she's worked really hard on this ordinance. She's taken the lead on it, and what you see here tonight is because of the effort that Kristen put into it, as well as our legal team from BBK. The ordinance you see, a lot of that language is standard. A lot of the language is mandatory from the state of California. Slide on, go back, can you click on the whole thing? A lot of the legislation that we see in regard to housing, the housing element, and some of the items that you're seeing both tonight at the last meeting with our residential design guidelines, it's mandatory language from the state. And the reason why we're here, the state of California would prefer the city of Galt to not have an accessory dwelling unit ordinance. It means that we default back to the state standards. However, there is some latitude within the law when it comes to setbacks, when it comes to design, when it comes to lot coverage. And those are the local control items that we want. And that's why we're here tonight, is to make sure that this community is getting as much local control from the state as we possibly can. So, next slide,
please. A lot of questions. What exactly is an accessory dwelling unit? So the state definition is what you see before you. So complete independent living facilities is the key here. It is not a room that's separate from the house. It's a full house in a much smaller size. It has to have its own kitchen, full kitchen, not a kitchenette. It has to have its own bathroom. It must have its own laundry facilities. That is what keeps it separate from just like a pool house or just a standard, like a bedroom. An accessory dwelling unit also includes an efficiency unit as defined in the California Health and Safety Code, or a manufactured home as defined in another section of the California Health and Safety Code. And complete independent living facilities means what I said earlier. They have to be, a person has to be able to live, sleep, eat, cook in the unit independent from the main house. So they don't need to depend on the main house to use the bathroom or to take a shower or to cook or to do their laundry. A junior accessory dwelling unit differs in that, one, it's limited in size to 500 square feet, and it's contained entirely within the main residence. So it's either attached to the main residence or it's enclosed. You could convert, maybe you had a spare room, you could convert that to a junior accessory dwelling unit, so long as it doesn't exceed the 500 square feet in size. A junior accessory dwelling unit can also share facilities with the main house, or it could have its own. And the differences between the two is that a JADU is limited in size, maximum 500 square feet, and it's attached or enclosed as part of the main residence, and it can have its own or shared facilities. That's how it differs from an ADU. And you can have both a junior accessory dwelling unit and a detached accessory dwelling unit on your lot if you can meet the lot coverage standards and the setbacks. You can actually have both, and that does give people the ability to expand. So on background, we all know about the housing crisis we're having in California, and the state is trying to encourage ways to increase production without keeping the cost so high. So the thought is that accessory dwelling units provide people with another, an affordable option to increase the supply of housing. There's been a lot of laws. We have been working on this for a couple years. We get a lot of questions at the counter and on the phone and even through our planning email inbox about accessory dwelling units. So we know that there is a lot of interest out there from residents. We had a lot of calls right after January 1st, 2020, when the main law took effect. And that's really another reason why it's great that we adopt our own ordinance, so we could best serve our residents, right, and what they want to do, and not what the state says they think we should do.
One of the things we saw about the ADUs, there's been so many laws in the last 5 years. I mean, with our housing element, what were we, like over 35 laws? I know the mayor, you called it out at one point in time, and with ADUs, it's been a moving target over the last 5-6 years. We're seeing a lot of different standards. And so this is our first ADU ordinance within our municipal code. It's allowing a comprehensive update, and it allows us definitely to keep that local control. And that's the biggest deal. I know there's a lot of jurisdictions, they aren't adopting an ADU or junior ADU ordinance. They just default back to the state. You can do that. I just don't think that's appropriate. I'm not ready to give up what a small amount that we're able to do. We need to keep everything we can. Yeah, and I think that's the bigger item is with the adoption of the housing element, we identified that ADUs would be a significant portion of how we met our regional housing needs, is there was going to be a portion of it. And that was really Dan Gerling came up with that, saying, hey, we need to push for that. We need to see we're going to have that type of development, that should count. And so this adoption, it helps us meet our housing element policies, and it's another measure, again, like what you saw with the residential development standards. This is another box that we check, and we're able to tell the state we're doing our part. With that, that completes our presentation. Kristen, anything you wanted to?
We do get a lot of interest. We do get a lot of questions at the counter. So there are a lot of people in Galt that are interested in building accessory dwelling units, or at least getting the information so they know what questions to ask their contractor and they know what to budget for. You know, sometimes I've had a phone call where somebody wanted to build one and they actually couldn't because they didn't have enough lot coverage. They didn't have enough lot space. I would say there's some misconceptions in the public, so it's important we adopt our own ordinance because it's our rules, and staff will be the experts on implementing those rules, and that way we can help, you know, educate our residents on what they can do and how to get through the process and how the fee schedule works, and helping them when they, you know, they bring in a site plan, and that way they can get some units without having to buy a brand new house somewhere else or try to buy vacant land, because that's hard to come by. So it does help the housing supply. We do have interest, and this will help us further when residents want to move forward.
Any questions that we might be able to answer?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing, though, on this item. So the public hearing on this particular item is open. And I'll start off by just saying, I did speak with some of our planning commissioners, a couple of them, and kind of got their take on it. And I did get pieces of one of the meetings. But it's good that we get our own, because we don't want to just keep saying, well, you have to defer back to the state or the county or whatever. But one thing that was brought up is, so I know you get a lot of interest, but I think one of the commissioners told me that it's actually probably a much lower percentage of properties in Galt than we would think that could qualify for this, because there is a lot of, like, I read through it, it's pretty, like, you have to have, of course, the square footage, you know, it can't be over 50%, but then you have to have certain setbacks, and then you can't infringe, you have to still leave a certain percentage of yard that has to still exist, right? There's a lot of parameters around it, so it's not like an easy thing. So it's not like people are just going to be building ADUs like left and right in everybody's backyards. I mean, am I wrong?
No, that is correct. I mean, if you think about it, most of the new developments we have taking place, the developer, whether or not you want to say it's Catarina or Cardoza, you're looking at anything that we're building within the last 10 years, those houses are maxed out on the lot. Now, could it be on a much larger lot? Could it be on a 10,000 square foot lot, or maybe an 8,500 square foot lot? Sure, absolutely. Or how about the older parts of town where you maybe have an alley or some of those long, narrow lots? Yes, but if you looked around town, the amount of places where you could do a detached ADU is limited. Now, there are other provisions in here, the junior ADU, where that could be inside the walls.
Right, that seems more likely, right?
Yeah.
And so what makes a guy that comes and says, hey, I just want to, you know, I'm going to move my mother-in-law into the house and she's going to live with us. Even if they're doing some remodeling, which whatever would take a permit, I mean, it doesn't really fall into the JADU and still, unless they're going to put like separate cooking facilities, separate bathroom, like adding all that, then it falls into that. I'm trying to figure out where the crossover happens.
Sorry. So an accessory dwelling unit it's its own independent living facility. So in order to qualify as an ADU and to basically meet the state rules, because we have to process these applications within a certain amount of time. So in order for somebody to get those benefits, they must build it to the definition, which is it's its own living, it's its own house. It's limited in size based on the main residence. So you have to have those facilities, where a junior ADU, you don't have to have those facilities. You could add on a room or enclose a space in your house and use the laundry room that's right there, or share that kitchen space. So if they want to, move their mother-in-law in to a bedroom and make that a junior ADU, and it has its own entrance and maybe it has its own parking spot, she could still use the kitchen of the main house. That's the difference, and it's limited in size.
So why would somebody do that? Is there an incentive for being able to do something classified under why would somebody say, I want to make it, instead of just saying I'm moving her in and she's going to share my kitchen and my bathroom, why would somebody go to the city and say, hey, I want to have a JADU? Why would they do that? Is there incentives with that, or I'm trying to struggle with the difference?
I don't know that there's incentives. I think it's just a different style of housing. You would be able to rent a room, which...
But people do that now.
Yeah, you could do it now. It's just, they're trying to put the definition, they're trying to define it.
Yeah, and I'll try to, again, the purpose behind this law is to incentivize, create housing units. So from the state's perspective, it is different than renting out a room or a space in your house, because they want to think about as independent units that can be rent to quell the, I'll just say, so-called housing crisis. So the idea is you have to have your own standalone kitchen facility. For JADUs, you can have a shared bathroom, but you still have to have your own kitchen. So the idea is there's a market there that has the ability to have my own standalone.
So they're even on a JADU,
you
still have to have a separate kitchen.
Some kind of efficiency kitchen, correct?
Okay.
And then ADU, you have to have a separate bathroom as well.
Well, that's a whole separate facility, though.
And that's what distinguishes it, though, from just a space in your house that you're renting out your couch for somebody that's crashing on the couch, or a spare bedroom, that type of thing.
Okay, yeah, just trying to understand the real differences. People are kind of confused on what it is. So JADU is probably way more likely to be something that people in Galt might pursue.
I haven't had any calls specific to JADUs, actually. It's all been traditional ADUs, and there was somebody who was considering an accessory dwelling unit, and then she wasn't sure the space was going to work. So then I told her about the junior option, and she said, what is that? So it was another option. So I could see that, though, here in Galt, that becoming an option. And we have issued some ADU permits in the last 2 years, too. So
two last real quick questions. What's the minimum size for an ADU separate from the main structure? Is there a minimum?
No.
I saw the maximums, but...
Yeah, there's maximums. No, there's not a minimum.
I think it'd at least be 350 square feet. The building code identifies minimum room sizes, so that by the time you did a bathroom, by the time you did a kitchen, even if it was like a studio type space, I think it's at least going to be 350 square feet.
I mean, I've been to IKEA and I've seen the little, this is what living in 200 square feet looks like, and this is what living in a submarine looks like, and it's really tiny, but I'm just curious. There was a reference in the staff report about, it says that this is the AB 345 from the state, saying that it requires ADUs be constructed by qualified nonprofit and qualified, and it also talks about qualified low-income buyers. Why would there be verbiage about low incomes? And also, what's the deal with the nonprofit? I didn't understand that part.
I believe this is a carryover from a previous staff report in which we discussed there are provisions, right, Frank, in the law that if somebody builds one like for nonprofit purposes, they can convey the properties separately. For the most part, when you build an ADU, you cannot parcel off that piece and you cannot resell it. Of course, there's an exception because it's California, and Frank might be able to explain a little more of that. But I think that's where AB.
But there's also nothing going to be in our municipal code at all about income. Like, there's not going to be like if you come in for a permit for an ADU and you can like state a certain income, you get like a discount or something. This is not anything, right?
The language identified from the state identified that we could take a look at income provisions and there would be some level of reporting. We took it out just because it would be an administrative nightmare, and what would we truly do with the demographic information what are we going to do somewhere between like 8 and 12 ADUs a year, and that would be a high number. More realistic, closer, it'd be lower. But the law does allow you to look after income levels, and I don't know who's doing that. Not a jurisdiction like Galt, maybe somebody like a Sacramento or a larger city where they're truly tracking that. Maybe, Frank, I don't know if any of your jurisdictions you're working for, if they're doing some type of vouchers or rebate programs.
No.
Okay. Well, thank you, Frank. Thank you for, does any of the council have questions for Kristen or Craig?
Yeah, I'm just interested to see if there's public comment.
Okay. Yes, go ahead and come on up. It's a public hearing. Do they need to fill out a speaker sheet? Not,
I need their name for the.
okay. Can she just give it to you verbally, or we need a sheet? Okay. Just please state your name for the record. Okay.
I just had a quick question in regards to the income. I'm wondering if that applies to like hardship for like, prior to all this new law coming out, they used to only do like the ADUs for like if you had like a mother-in-law, like quarters, so to speak. And I know that you can apply for permits for that to where you didn't have to pay as extensive fees for just like a normal.
That might have been previous. I know they were originally started out as the mother-in-law quarters. Now, under the new state laws in our provisions of this ordinance, you're allowed, the city's only allowed to charge a proportionality for what the ADU is. It's not like it's a new sewer hookup. It's not a new water hookup, because the main house already has those hookups. You're just connecting. It's not like it's a separate unit on a different house. If that's kind of where you're going with the impact fees that you charge on these houses are far less. It's just the proportionality of what that unit is. It's not a new.
You're saying it's not, the cost of the permits is not going to be like you're building a house. Correct. It's going to be way different.
It's significantly different. We approved, it's about 600 square feet ADU. Just, I think the building department issued it like 2 weeks ago, and I want to say the total permit cost was about $3,500 for the ADU. Of course, that's not including their costs and school fees because they hit the 500. But to answer your question about if there are opportunities for reduced fees based on income, I don't think we haven't discussed anything like that. I don't know if.
Because really all we're looking at is what are the true costs of the facility on the services, and that's all we're charging. Again, it's not a new hookup. It's just you're tying into the existing facilities on the property.
Does that answer your question, Ms. Stiglmeyer? Okay, thank you. Any additional comment? Mr. Wenzel, please state your name for the record.
Harry Wenzel. Just a couple of questions. The first is, it doesn't seem like this is going to be a big explosion of this happening in the city. It just has natural restrictions because of lot sizes and so forth. So, is there anything that keeps people from doing this and then just packing a house with like 10 people, parking a problem on the street or whatever? Not that it's going to be a big problem until it's in, your own neighborhood, but is there any, do we have codes or something for that?
Well, other than just the size of the unit, I mean, I would say that within California, we've seen how we define a family unit and what is a house. It's not what maybe you conventionally said. It's a mom and dad and a couple kids. Mm-hmm. I mean, the family unit is changing, and we're seeing extended families within homes. But if I was to say, what's the limitation on an ADU? It's just strictly size. They're much smaller units. I don't think you could stick that type of amount of people in a smaller unit.
So Mr. Wenzel, just to be clear, even though it's a public hearing, we have to treat it, it's not like a Q&A, so if you want to just state your comments and questions, and then we can have Craig address them after, sorry.
Okay, good point. All right, so I suppose as you go through this, my comments would be, if it's not infringing on, like a zoning, so if you're going to make a restriction, maybe you don't have an investor suddenly own 10 houses and just pack them full of people, and now that whole zoning concept goes away. That would be one comment. I don't know whether there'll be investor restrictions, but it's along the same line. I realize everybody wants a place to live, and if I didn't have a place, I'd want one too. If there was any consideration about parking on the street in the event that happens. And I think you covered the ownership, that you really don't get to lot split. I don't get to put one in my backyard and then suddenly split my lot, and somebody can buy that separately. So those are just my comments. Interesting subject. I don't think it's that huge of a deal, but I appreciate you guys. I'm with you. We should keep control of everything we can.
Thank you, Mr. Wenzel.
As far as parking goes, a house is required to have a garage. You typically have 2 spaces out in the driveway. An ADU does not need its own garage or carport, but it does need an on-site parking space.
It does need an on-site parking place. So that doesn't include street parking?
Correct.
Really? Okay. So just theoretically, so if you had like an older house, had a huge lot in an older part of Galt, that would be like, oh yeah, the lot's totally big enough to have an ADU. But they had like a single car detached garage, which is something you'll see back in the old days. So you have a single car detached garage with a driveway for just maybe one car. That would play into the ADU approval?
Yes, it would. But I mean, if it's that big of a lot, you probably have another ability
You'd designate another parking place. Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Had somebody come in with a similar situation on this side of town, a big lot, 1-car garage, and he wants to put an ADU in, and he did ask about parking. But you're right, this particular case, he does have the room for the additional parking space on the lot itself.
Council comments, or want to continue with public comment? Okay, we'll keep hearing from the public. Anybody? Just step on up, tell your name. Sir, you can go after Mr. Lee. Mr. Lee, state your name for the record.
My name is Ken Lee. I wanted to know if the ADUs have to be attached to the house, and if they don't have to be attached to the house, can you use a shipping container, and can you use a tiny house like you see on TV?
Okay, thank you for the questions. So to answer, an ADU is separate from the house, where a JADU is inclusive in the house. The shipping container question, I don't know if that...
We have gotten that question, and believe it or not, we actually issued a permit 3 years ago for an ADU that was a shipping container, and I will tell you from a staff perspective, it was a nightmare. These things aren't manufactured in California, so right from the start, they do not meet the California building code or the fire code requirements. So this applicant had to pay many additional costs and lots of headaches, yes, to get it insulated, to put the right windows in, when really her goal was to just drop it right in the backyard so she would have a place to live. And
well, there's always TV shows where they're building houses out of containers, but
yes.
So people see that and they go, oh, it's time
we
to get these ideas.
We get many questions about the tiny home concept, and we've yet to see a permit for one come in, but we get that question all the time, and the answer is, yes, you can do it. It does have to be attached to a permanent foundation, though. You can't
Versus the tiny home's more like a trailer-based.
Right, you can't just roll it into your yard and call it good. You have to connect and attach it.
All structures need to meet the California building code.
Sir, come on up. State your name for the record.
Just real quick.
What was the name again?
Rod Hooks.
Okay, thank you.
Real quick question. 10 to 20% of the costs are usually in design and engineering cost. And so I was just wondering, are there going to be any adopting pre-designed templates that you guys may?
We weren't going to do that. I know several jurisdictions have.
Right. I know the county does.
And you could. Well, I don't know what the county does. I know Stockton does. They did like 5 different plans, but we weren't going to, at this point in time, look to do that.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Any additional public comment? Okay. Comments by council?
Yeah, I just have a couple of comments, and interestingly enough, I was at a conference today that was talking about ADUs and had some discussion at the table about it. And by the way, Placer County is one that does pre-approved plans, and it really helps, at least their perspective is it really helps with the cost for the builder, whether it's the homeowner or whoever. And so they have issued, I think she said in the last 5 years, they've issued 210 permits. Now, granted, Placer County is much bigger than us in terms of physical size. So But it's been really helpful and don't quote me on this number, but of about 500 requests, 210 have been approved, and it's really because of those pre-approved plans. Additionally, I believe in our city we've had a significant shortage of senior housing. And, I was talking to somebody, and there's well over a 1.5 to 2 year wait on some of our senior housing here in Galt. What a great opportunity to keep the family together, right? And put in an ADU for somebody that may be a senior. Another example that was given today was a special needs adult who couldn't necessarily live on their own, but certainly within the same property have some independence, and it really worked out well for them. So I like the ideas of ADUs because they provide an opportunity for us to meet some state mandated goals while taking care of what we need in our community, which is senior housing or young adult housing with or without special needs. And so I like the idea. I think that if you were to ask people, many people don't know about them until they begin to move their adult parents in and, those sorts of things. And so I would be in favor of, not tonight, of course, but certainly at a future meeting, talking about some pre-approved plans so that those who are building them would find it easier and more cost-effective to do that. And again, I believe there's grant money out there and things that we could look at, and maybe even have somebody come in and help us with it to get those up and going. So anyhow, just my comments, and I appreciate the public comment on this item as well.
I'll have Zach Carver, he's our building official, take a look at that. It just, sometimes it's harder when you have smaller lots. In a Placer County where you're dealing with acres, it's easy to stick a ADU on an acre property or 2 acres. It's tough on a 6,500 square foot lot, so. But I will have them take a look. I know a lot of jurisdictions are doing these pre-done plans. I still think the biggest constraint to ADU construction, it's not the impact fees, and sometimes maybe it's not even the space. Construction cost is so expensive right now. It's really tough.
And my point to that, Mr. Hoffman, wasn't necessarily the impact fees or the construction costs, because we know those are probably going to continue to rise, but more the cost of getting plans drawn up, right? And then, to some degree, we know what's going in. And so if plan A, B, or C doesn't work, then maybe you have to go out and get plan D done. But this, might be an opportunity to help our citizens.
Thank you, Mr. Hoffman and Christine Betts. Thank you for tonight explaining us about the ADU and JADU. Just for the clarification, you guys know the state guideline with the ADU and JADU, right? And we're trying to local control. My basic question is, what will be the difference? It can be easy to build the ADU unit if we local control. I'm talking about what we can be more restriction, or we can do the same, because we want to be affordable. The people wants to ADU in this town. And just kind of basic question. I know it's hard to answer it, but if you can give it.
I think with this ordinance, it allows us to have this application process in which somebody can come to the front counter, and it's more of a checklist that they're going through. Hey, what's your lot size? What are your setbacks? And after they come with the meeting with us, they have a document that they could go provide some builder that, hey, these are my setbacks. This is my lot coverage. This is what I could build. And I think we're setting up a process to make it easier for somebody, but we're also setting up a process that we're looking at setbacks, we're looking at, what's the architecture of the existing unit, that you're not coming out with doing something maybe radically different than what the existing house is. But we're not looking to make the process more difficult or more costly. I think we're trying to streamline it so that somebody can get to a building permit faster. I think we've had a lot of people come to the front counter. We try to help them out, but we don't have anything organized right now. And it leads to that person kind of leaving going, well, I don't think I firmly know what I need to go talk to a contractor with. And I think that's what we're trying to provide them, is something that gets them to a point where they can actually get this built. Because we've had way too many starts and stops with this. Somebody comes to the front counter, you never see them again.
Then my next, just the clarification, the JADU unit, and I heard this can be like an inside the building.
Correct.
So garage is part of the inside the building, right? And and garage is not any requirement to the house. So if somebody wants 500 or 450, when building something in a garage, I believe we can consider that. And the other thing is, house can be the old. What kind of code we using? Is it current code, or we using whatever the existing? Because the current code can be, sometimes it can be too expensive to building something inside the building. So just the clarification for the public.
Sure. We default back to the current version of the building code, and we get a lot of people saying, hey, I've got this garage. A garage is not habitable space. It's built. It is a complete different standard. It's not habitable. It doesn't have it's not conditioned space. I mean, you have your hot water heater a lot of times out there. You have your garage doors. You don't have insulation. Changing a garage and turning it into habitable space is not that easy. And we get that request all the time. And once somebody finds out, oh, now I need to add plumbing in there, where you're probably on a slab floor and you don't have plumbing and you're adding a bathroom, maybe you don't have the extension of a gas line to provide for a stove unit. The conversion of a garage to habitable space is not easy. And we get that question all the time.
Yeah, right, but like in before this, the ordinance, nobody can make a ADU in the backside of Sacramento whole county. You cannot make a two house. Since the state did mandate, then we can do it. But I'm just talking about, we can have the restriction, but we can still have the option. In a garage, they have a space. They can, the contract can change, and they'll change all over. They can make to be qualified, but we're considering that, right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so far.
I'll just say thank you to you, and BB&K actually has an ADU team, just to show how complex this is, so thanks to them for the help with that. And you raised a question which certainly wouldn't be addressed in this current ordinance that we're reading. However, with California now officially outlawing new construction with natural gas, when you're putting an ADU or a JADU into on an existing structure or into or adjacent to, I don't know that question has been asked or answered as to whether they would be able to extend the gas into the new unit.
They would be able to. The only areas within Galt that you don't have natural gas going into is annexations areas that would be north of Twin Cities. That was in our general plan. That was in the environmental document. So a project like Summerfield, that's going to be electric. Natural gas can't be extended in there, nor can it be extended into the industrial area that was done north of Live Oak. So certain restrictions were put on those areas, and it went through, the Air Resources Board. But within the greater portion of Galt, yeah, you can absolutely extend natural gas into an area of the house, or you could put it into a house that doesn't currently have natural gas. We are finding a lot of projects that are currently in process are moving away from natural gas because SMUD is offering such great rebate programs on electrical rates or different programs they have. We're seeing a lot of projects volunteering to go and not include natural gas.
Right, yeah, and I may, if I have it right, I believe that the Air Resources Board did make a determination that it's 2035? 20, well, and I'm talking statewide, zero new natural gas. I believe it's out right about the same time as the electric vehicles statewide. So. Again, thanks for the report.
All right. Any additional comments from council? Any public comment? If not, I'm going to close the public hearing. All right, public hearing is closed. With that, thank you, Mr. Hoffman and Ms. Spitz. Looking for a motion to approve and introduce, I'm just trying to find the word verbiage here. Introduce and waive the first reading by title only an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Galt, adding sections 186080, amending sections 1532030, 1808030, 1816040, 1816050, and tables 1828-1 to 1848-2, and repealing section 1844.150 of the Galt Municipal Code regarding accessory dwelling units and junior accessory dwelling units. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Councilman Lozano, seconded by Vice Mayor Sandu. Can I have a roll call, please?
Vice Mayor Sandu?
Aye.
Councilmember Papineau?
Aye.
Councilmember Lozano?
Aye.
Mayor Farmer?
Aye. Approved 4-0. All right, moving on to item L, regular calendar. Do we have anything?
Police Department.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. All right. Yeah, we have one item, Police Department. Subject is going to be the Emergency Operations Plan Update and Letter of Promulgation. Chief Kalinowski.
Thank you, Tina. Good morning, Mayor, members of council. Tonight before you is our updated Emergency Operations Plan 2022 that was put together by our consultant, Howell Consulting. This item was seen by the Public Safety Committee on July 25th and sat on the city website for the 30 days, receiving no feedback from the community related to this topic. I'll go over some basics for those people that are watching from home or online or in the audience. Essentially, what is an emergency operations plan? It's a written document. Those of you who read it, it's 360 pages in total, and it outlines the scope and responsibility for our emergency preparedness and management activities for the City of Galt. It assigns the responsibilities, it sets authorities. As it says here in the PowerPoint, it describes the protection for our population and identifies resources. As you can see, obviously we spend time on preparedness and then we have our response. If it's big enough, there's recovery, potential prevention, protection. All those items are the full circle of the emergency response or the plan. Who mandates the plan and why? This framework identifies a government responsibility to develop, detail all hazards and all threats. Emergency operations plan. Federal and state preparedness funding requires us to have an emergency operations plan as a condition of receiving any potential funding should we have a disaster of some sort in the community. And we use the standard emergency management system known as SIMS as our operating guideline for our EOP. Here's a sequence of events in a disaster, and it follows 3 tracks. You have the response sequence in blue, the recovery, and the proclamation and declaration sequence. This was on page 28 out of 81 on the first document that you received. You received 2 documents, the base plan and the secondary plan, which was much longer. So if you were wanting to see something like this, it's online for the community because that is small printing. And our response, sometimes we have alerts and notifications. We'll have mobilization like we did. We activated our Emergency Operations Center with COVID-19 as an example and had some work in that regard. Fortunately, we've not had a response to a local disaster which necessarily filled all 3 of these sequences, but potentially we could. I'm thinking like a flood or something like that as a potential here in Galt. And history's shown that there's been some flooding that's occurred and caused problems. In fact, I think community is isolated in one storm many years ago. So the Emergency Operations Center, which is located in the community room of the Galt Police Department, centralizes our emergency management where it can be performed. The beauty of technology now, and like we did with COVID-19, although we stood up in the early days that room, essentially everything was done remote, as most of life was. So we were able to check in and provide daily reports to the county about our updates and issues related to COVID-19. That was our recent use of the EOC, as I've indicated before. We could support multi-agency coordination and joint information activities. That's exactly what we did during COVID-19. The EOC is a central point for coordination of all our emergency operations, which include our departments like Public Works and others, information gathering and dissemination, and then our coordination with local governments, the county, and the overall Sacramento operational area. And we attend an operational area meeting quarterly with those in our operational area. And then EOC staffing could vary depending on the issue. Community development, Public Works, and ourselves have utilized that Emergency Operations Center. In fact, Community Development was responsible for the weekly and then what ended up being monthly updates during COVID. And then here's identification of Galt being sort of part of a larger system. You can see the local government. You have your operational center, operational area, and then the region, and then ultimately the state. In your documents that you received, I would highlight that there's a role of elected officials, which was found in the first base document plan, which started on page 32 and went on to page 33, which outlines responsibilities of elected officials during the disaster. I'll just highlight some of the verbiage in there. Essentially, the elected official's role as a decision maker will come, but the primary goal of addressing a disaster as it's happening is to stabilize the situation and as quickly and efficiently as possible, using first responders and city EOC staff to do this. And then essentially the role of the council is to support the work, communication, getting accurate, again, it falls in communication, but getting accurate information out early and often, maintaining your overall situational awareness, providing direction for response-related activities when appropriate or requested, and then overall, the trust and empowerment of the emergency management staff to make the right decisions. So those are some of the roles and responsibilities that council has specifically, and the emergency operations plan identifies everyone in the city and their responsibilities. Our next steps is to participate at the staff level with additional skill building through training and exercises. We call these tabletop exercises. We've done that historically in the past here in the city of Galt, and we've taken the opportunities, for example, when we've stood up the EOC through COVID, to make those who are new into the city at the department head level familiar with our operation and how to get the physical plant ready to go in the community center, the community room. And then it's indicated here that city staff is ready to identify, mitigate, and plan for and respond to all disasters in the effort to reduce negative impact, limit loss, and create resiliency. And that's the overall concepts. So with that, I would ask council if they had any questions. What we're looking to do today is get approval of the plan by resolution And ultimately, the city manager, on behalf of the council, will sign the letter of you know what I'm trying to say. And there is a secondary document that all council members, the current seated council members, will sign attesting to the support of the document. And if you read through the base plan, you would have seen that early on in the document. So those are the two things that you will have. At some point, as we continue on in this process, there'll be an opportunity for council to be a part of a tabletop exercise addressing our EOC activation. So everybody's sort of on board with what we do. A lot of what the council will do will be policy decision making and reimbursement request formally through actions that you will make at the council in sort of what I would call the cleanup or disaster recovery. Staff at a local, when we have gone to fires and other things, those jurisdictions have made the reimbursement possible for us. And so at a staff level, we're always, when we respond, seeking reimbursement for those activities. So with that.
All right, thank you, Chief. Any questions for Chief Kalinowski on this item?
Not a question. Thank you for all of the hard work. And I would, the two short sentences up there is where the real work comes. It always amazes me that you're going to put 360 pages into something that a officer can pull out of their pocket on a card and be ready to follow, the plan. So, I appreciate the anticipated work at training and preparation to implement all of this. So,
yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't think we have any further questions. Is there any public comment?
Tim Reed?
Good evening, Mayor, other city council members. Tim Reed, Chair of the Public Safety Committee. I thought it was prudent for me to come before you and explain that, yes, they did present the emergency operations plan to us on July 25th. We all talked about it. We looked it over. We took that month to think about it, and none of us on the committee had any changes that we proposed to it. On a personal level, I'm involved in my other job with a lot of the other things that are mentioned in there. It's a very good document. I can compare it to other EOPs that I've seen. The police the department and the contractor have done a really good job. So I recommend that you guys do adopt the resolution because I think that it is a very good plan and it's got a lot of information in there for you guys and for everybody else in the city. So thank you.
All right, thank you for your input. All right, well, I don't think we have any additional questions. Go ahead, you do?
Just a comment. Thank you for the work on this, and it is important that everybody in the city, at whatever level, understand what your role is in when an emergency gets stood up, and it's important that for staff to be able to pivot and understand what all the different roles are. If you don't work in law enforcement or emergency services. So good work and good luck with putting it all together.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chief. Appreciate the presentation. All right, with that, we'll be looking for a motion to adopt a resolution approving the updated City of Galt Emergency Operations Plan and authorizing the city manager to sign the letter of promulgation stating this council's support for the plan.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Lozano, moved by Councilman Lozano, apologize, and seconded by Vice Mayor Sandu. Can I have a roll call, please?
Vice Mayor Sandu?
Aye.
Councilmember Papineau?
Aye.
Councilmember Lozano?
Aye.
Mayor Farmer?
Yes, items approved 4-0. Moving on, communication. Do we have any this evening?
None this evening.
All right, item N, City Clerk's report.
None this evening.
All right, Mr. Hines, comments by staff.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just wanted to make sure everyone's aware that Wednesday night's edition of Galt University has been postponed, and we will cover those items that we were going to cover. That's the city attorney and Parks and Recreation on October 12th. And so we'll look forward to seeing everybody there. We've also moved the presentation of CSD Fire to October 11th. The other thing I wanted to mention is October is our kickoff of Traffic Awareness Month. And so the public will be seeing a number of media posts, social media posts from the Galt PD and Galt's Public Works Department, and as well as my office. You will see information on crosswalk enforcement, speed enforcement, school zones, a review of any stats that we've received during the month of October, and also a message about traffic safety on Halloween. We'll also be developing social media posts for adherence to stop signs and traffic mitigation devices, as well as communications regarding distracted driving. So folks can expect to see that over the next month. And with that, I'll turn it over to our Public Works Director, Mike Selling, and I think he has some good news for you there.
Thank you, City Manager. Yeah, good evening again, Mayor and Council. I wanted to pass along that the city was successful in getting a grant from Cal Recycle, about just under $47,000. And this is for household hazardous waste. And so that's, all the paints, solvents, batteries, various things of that nature, electronics, that people need to dispose of, and we have to dispose of them, obviously, in a responsible way. So the city will be looking to plan probably 2, maybe 3 of these, what we're anticipating will be like a drive-through event, probably at the market grounds, where people can bring those items and dispose of them properly, and we'll manifest them out and take care of that for them. So right now, for a number of years, at least in my time here and before, and this continues to this day, but we have a contract with the county and the city of Elk Grove for people to go up and take these types of items up to their facility in Elk Grove. But this will be, hopefully a more convenient option for folks to be able to just, like I say, drive through and drop their things off and save them a trip. So probably an air quality benefit there too for Councilmember Papineau. So anyway, and then the other, so I wanted to, give kudos to a couple of folks on our staff, Robin and Laura. They were very much the ones driving this grant application, and so I wanted to recognize them for that. The other thing is related to solid waste. You've probably seen it. I know we've already been hitting, the social media, and it's on the city's website, is the little organic pails that'll, people can put on their countertops in their kitchens for collecting those food scraps that we're all going to have to do starting in January. So we've got a couple of times. I think it's next Friday the 14th and Saturday the 15th. You can go on the website, sign up for a time slot, and come by and pick up your free pail. So just kind of wanted to put that back out there for folks. And I think we've got a few optional times too that following week in case you can't make it on Friday or Saturday. Some kind of after hours, I think like 5 to 6 p.m. or so. So there's some options there for people to pick them up. So, so if you want to sign up for that, just wanted to make the community aware of that option too. So with that, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Director Selling. Chief Kalinowski, anything?
Just a couple items. Tomorrow night we'll have coffee with the cop over here at Starbucks on C Street from 5:30 to 7. Staff that puts that together elected to start with an evening one, which is fine. We try to get across the day at different times at different locations. And so we're sort of trying to get back to our new normal now that we have our CSOs in place and replacing TJ Gadati. That was one of their first tasks. So we do have that coffee with the cop tomorrow. On Thursday at 9 a.m. at the police department, we'll be swearing in some of our newer members of the department and recognizing a promotion of Mark Fuel to sergeant, which is actually effective on the 10th. We're going to knock it all out at once. We want to get some of that handled before the weather changes. So we have that. We invite the public to participate in that. City manager did a good job of articulating the roadmap with the traffic, Galt's traffic awareness program. I heard earlier the dialogue about the schools. I would say that the school articulated is that's multiplied for each elementary school and middle school and high school in the community that we have those same similar traffic concerns. And so staff will work hard to address those. I don't know that I can put people out 3 days a week for several weeks, but we'll do the best we can. And one of the topics is school zone safety specifically, and so we'll get that out there. And then lastly, and boy, it was a great topic, and I completely forgot. So fortunately for you, you don't have to hear it. But I do thank you, and that's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief. Nothing from community development, and Mr. Mayor, that concludes our comments, unless the city attorney or city clerk have anything to. All right, that concludes our comments, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
All right, moving on to item B, comments by city council members or future agenda items. Mr. Vice Mayor Sandu.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, thank you for the staff who give us a detail and all reports. Thank you for your time to spending with the detailed reports. I also thank you for the public comments. This is very important to me, and this is your voice, and I'm here to hear your voice. And especially thank you for the calls I get, the email I get, and the comment I get regarding that animal service issue, and we certainly going to take a prioritize, and I already asked the council and staff, and we certainly will give the public update very soon. I also like to thank you, the media. They come every. I also like to thank you, everybody come to the chamber. I did a couple things. I attended the last series of Saturday market. Last Saturday, great turnout. I'm looking forward to hear feedback from Mr. Solis and his team in the near future. I also attend bingo for the senior on Monday. Very well attended, and I'm glad they are back. Thank you. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Papineau.
Yeah, to be short, thanks to all of the staff and all the public. I like to see a full room and robust input, so appreciate that. I attended a week before last the Citizens Academy, Galt University. Very impressed with the material presented, the questions asked, and the involvement of people. Last week, I attended the District Attorney's annual Public Safety Appreciation Luncheon. I have made a practice to do that every year, and it was well represented with, I believe, 10 members from the police department there. This was all about fentanyl, and it was powerful. And there were a lot of people there that had lost kids to it. So I would ask that everybody who's here or watching go to onepillcankill.com. It's the number 1, pillcankill.com, and take a few clicks around. It was pretty amazing. I knew it was a epidemic. By far, in our area, outpaces firearm deaths. And a striking number that everybody needs to be educated on. And I thought mostly kids, but adults too. 98% of anything you buy on the street, whether you think you're buying Xanax or Perks or Vicodin, Oxy, is fake, and it's fentanyl. And it has absolutely zero quality control. And that's where all these deaths are coming from. So that message can't get out enough, that it is coming in over the border and coming into our communities from all sides. So I would ask everybody to please take a look at that information, pass it on. And that's all I have for tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for that information. Councilman Lozano.
Yeah, just a couple of things. Condolences to the Walters family on the death, and I want to thank the family for allowing service to our community through Tom. Also had the opportunity to attend the burial and memorial service of Jim Connick, one of our CAPS volunteers for a long time, and it was both were well attended, and appreciate the input and the participation of the police department with those two services. And Jim will sorely be missed, certainly in the police department, but also in the community. So I want to thank the staff for the reports and certainly all the community input. It's when you get engagement from the community in meetings like this, it makes it a lot more fun and interesting. And so thank you all for coming. And I too look forward to conversation about what staff's recommendations are going to be regarding expanding the Saturday market, either by more times a year or hours or whatever it is. And because I think it's been widely successful. So and that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Just a little business before pleasure here. I just want to echo Vice Mayor to Mr. Hines, if we can, get back as soon as we can. Maybe if we can set like a 30-day, maybe a 30 days would be a good sufficient time where we can kind of get a good report back to the council on the ongoing dialogue with the animal services. I just don't want this to get lost. We got a lot of big topics coming up, and I don't want this to get lost in the muddle of that. So appreciate that. So I too attended the services for Jim Connick. Appreciate his service to the community and to the CAPS and the police officers. CAPS is such an important organization to the community, and I was actually talking to some CAPS today, and a lot of them are seniors, and so as we lose them, like we lost Mr. Connick, there's a void there. And so I'd encourage anybody in the community who's interested in the CAPS program, definitely look into it. We could really use your help. So you can contact the police department and look in to see what that's about, but we would appreciate volunteers. I do appreciate the public comment tonight. We had a full room, which is nice. See so many people involved. I know sometimes it takes a controversial issue to get this many people to show up, but hey, that's what we're here for, and we like to see people come and express their voices. That's what we're here for, is to hear your concerns and try to address them. So I appreciate everybody coming tonight. I attended the Galt alumni dinner. So I want to thank the people that put that on. It was a very good event. We had a Galt High as an alumni, and my family, my mother was there with me. She's celebrating her 50th year, class of 72. And there was a gentleman there who was class of 1940. He's 101 years old. And so he was the oldest in attendance. I want to remind everybody that there is a candidate forum tomorrow night at Horizon Church, put on by the Herald and the Chamber of Commerce. It starts at 6:30 for the candidates for the City Council. And I think that will do it for me tonight. So again, thank you for everybody for attending. And with that, we will adjourn our meeting at 8:37. Good night.